It's Thursday, 10 a.m. Welcome to Real Estate Now. Stacy, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for asking.
It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's going to be like 75 degrees today.
No way. I quit. I'm out.
Yeah. And we're done. Good show. We'll see you next Thursday, 10 a.m., same place. But, another beautiful sunshiny spot is, let's just jump right into it because we got an awesome show about the market, our Q1 recap, but let's talk about mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are retreating. They're dipping back down, folks. So we're almost, Stacy, golf clap.
Who was right? Who was right? Can I just hear it?
Well, Stacy, you were right. You're right. They ticked back down.
Okay.
They're going back down. I think probably next week this time we'll maybe, if we stay on this trend, we'll maybe be talking about rates back in the twos, which will then kick off another refinance boom, and then keep us crushing it through the year. And not to sound like a total Debbie Downer, but it will just put more pressure on all those appraisals that are trying to get back for those purchases. So we just have to be prepared for that. So that's all I would say about that. But rates are going back down. So if you think you missed it, last go round, get back on the pony and ride because rates are coming back down. So do it.
All right.
Don't
we'll
miss it
talk
again.
about it. I really want to get into the rates and why they're going up and down, but we'll do it next week because this week it is our panel show and we should bring our guests in because everybody is insanely busy. So Let's start with our guests here, how their crazy lives are going and move on from the rates.
Do we want to start north or south?
Just bring them all on.
Let's bring them all on. From the south, Aaron Thomas. And then Ross and Rachel. Rachel's there too. And then Darcy from her car at her listing. So
this is awesome. So before we start, so we have Ross and Rachel, who I think just ran down the street from their appointment they were at. Darcy's sitting in her car outside of her apartment or her appointment. Aaron is, I don't know, his team is probably at 3 different appointments right now, but it is crazy right now. You guys are just like heroes that are unsung right now. So kind of give us an update of what's going on. Let's start with Aaron.
What are you asking?
Give us an update on what's going on in your market.
What is going on? Everything is going on. So we're just, we're kind of in a dogfight to help people get houses. So every house, for the most part, in our market is still listing on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, reviewing offers Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. There's people reviewing early now. The offers are really high. And there's not much left over. So we have the same amount of listings coming on as last year. It's just there's like a 5x number of buyers for each listing. So they're coming off the market, really quick. So last month
when you say you have the same amount of inventory as last year, is that specific to the South Sound? Because I don't know if that's accurate for King County, but it might be. I don't know.
I think people are getting a little bit sometimes getting it confused because the inventory is coming and then it's going off market so quickly that at any moment in time you look at it and the actives are really low, and that is true. But in our market last year on April 1st, there had been 509 new listings last year, and this year there are 503. It was the same amount of homes.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I thought we were down from last year. I haven't looked at the stats this month, but interesting.
Yep,
we'll all have to do that. Yeah, that's just crazy.
So, like North King County, we're slightly down, but it's not crazy down. Like it's not crazy. The crazy part is they're just going off the market so fast. There's no inventory.
So if it's the same amount of homes, it's just more buyers.
More buyers. Yep.
Way more buyers.
I've pre-approved a lot more buyers. So
everybody's working hard right now. Yeah. So open houses, they're back for you guys in all the counties, or Rachel, what's the update on that?
Yeah, so we're back. We can have 10 people, and I don't know with Pierce County now going back to 2, but we can have 10 people at an open house. we've had a lot of listings where we haven't held them because we haven't necessarily needed to. Just because we have consistent people going in, and instead of having neighbors come in and fill those 10 spots, we would rather have serious buyers come in. There have been listings though that have maybe a higher price point that we've, been able to do open houses on them, but we really haven't held many. We kind of miss doing them because we get to meet with buyers and meet with sellers, and it brings more activity in a little bit for us, but it's been okay.
Hey, Rachel, can you explain a little bit for the folks watching that are either thinking about buying or listing a house? Like, you can either set an appointment. I think you said we want people coming to the appointment, or open houses. What's the difference there? What's the back end looking like?
Yeah, so if you have an agent, they can go into showing time and schedule. They can book out appointments, which we actually didn't really like in the very beginning, and now we kind of have learned to enjoy it a little bit more because it keeps us on schedule.
And just to back up, for those that don't know, showing time is a schedule that's MLS wide that all brokers have access to, and I think 99% of the listings require using this application to make an appointment.
Yeah.
Is that
so
like the open door? Is that the open door of listings? Is that what or open table?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
The open table of listings. Gotcha.
Yeah. And if you want to have dinner there too, you can.
Yeah. So what we found though with open houses is sometimes agents are booking out the 2 hours in there, and it's not allowing, agents to get in there, but it allows buyers who can't get into open house, to get in to showing time to be able to actually see the house. We've done it on one listing where we did it where it was a 2-hour open, but we opened it to buyers open, public open, and then to the agent open, and trying to encourage everybody to be able to see it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And showing time is something that only agents have access to, so the general public can't. You have to go through that. You have to go through agents on that. I'll say I've started loving open houses just because there's so many people trying to get into houses right now that it's packed. It's absolutely packed, and a house might go on the market on Thursday and be booked all the way through Tuesday. Like, I can't get in. So having an open house is a time where if your agent's not able to get you in because of that scheduling, that maybe you'll be able to get in then.
So, Darcy, correct me if I'm wrong. You're sitting in the driveway of your listing that's going live today.
I am.
Yay, more inventory. Thank you, Darcy.
Yay.
I'm out in Duval right now, a cute Rambler that just literally hit the market this morning. I was putting up the sign, doing the last few things. In the first hour we're on the market, I already had 3 showing requests.
Awesome.
Wow. Well, let me ask this. Let me just go and see if you're practicing what you're preaching. Do you have an open house scheduled for this one?
I have an open house scheduled on Friday, on Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow. So now, are open houses, do you have to schedule a set time to partake in the open house, or do you have a bouncer sitting outside the door making sure no more than 10 people come through?
So I have agents that are sitting the open house. On 2 of those days, we have 2 agents at each open house, and one person will be in the house answering questions. The other one will be monitoring how many people come through the house.
Wow.
Are you doing 2-hour opens or 3-hour opens?
Just 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
I don't want to make it too long.
Yeah.
And when it's this kind of market and you're getting that many people through, it's exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember doing a 2-hour open where I had over 200 people come through. This was not during COVID because of the rules and everything. But I remember when I walked out of there, I just sat in my car for like 20 minutes and stared off to no place because I couldn't talk anymore. I couldn't think. Like, it's exhausting.
Yeah, and I don't like those types of opens just because you don't get a connection with anybody. You're just kind of getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Very much.
It it almost sounds like a ride at an amusement park. They come in the front door, they get to ride the ride and walk the house, and then get out the back door.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And question about, so Darcy, and I guess Aaron too, are you guys, just because it's so difficult to get in for showing time, it makes it very difficult, are you doing seller provided inspections on your listings and sewer scopes?
Not always sewer scopes. It depends on the property, but
Right.
always a seller provided inspection.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, how many times am I the buyer right now that's helping me out? And I don't want my clients' houses to have 15 inspections done because it's taxing on the house, and things
Right.
will break if you attack it that much.
Plus the time,
Yeah.
2 hours for every inspection.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The last 2 days I've had pre-inspections, and I have had other people show up during our pre-inspections and claim that they had the time for pre-inspection, which they didn't, including people that were refusing to wear masks. And I mean, it's rough out there.
Right.
Yeah.
What about homeowners or home sellers? Some I think are getting their inspections done themselves, right? So that you don't have to do all these other inspections, or what do you guys recommend? Okay.
Yes. So that's what we're saying. Like this house we had inspected a week and a half ago. And then once we got the inspection, we printed it out. It's at the house on the counter so they can have access to it. If anybody wants a copy of it, their agent can email me. That way I have control over who's getting it and who doesn't. And in addition, it gave my people time to be able to fix some stuff that they didn't realize were showing up.
Gotcha. Well, so you guys, you alluded to it about the number of people in the house. What other protocols are in place for open houses right now? If you're a buyer, prospective buyer, what do you have to be prepared to do to go into that house?
Maybe wait in line because of the only having 10 people in a house at a time. And usually that's when the listing broker's outside just counting people, more so than inside greeting everybody. And then also masking up. That's a requirement.
Yeah.
And some people just don't want to. And that's kind of an awkward conversation.
And we usually will try to leave doors open, closet doors open, lights on, so there's just not as much contact with stuff that they're not touching. And, you know, us as listing brokers having to go back into our listings and making sure things are disinfected and spraying Lysol on doorknobs and, you know, just making sure that the product that we are showing is a safe thing for people to come in and enjoy and to be able to see it.
Is it different for you, Aaron, in Pierce County?
No, it's all the same. The only thing that's different is we don't see a lot of people requesting pre-inspections down here. We see a lot of people will ask for an inspection that's based upon a pass-fail, that they're basically indicating to the seller that they're not going to be asking for repairs. And so it's always a decision that the seller can make. Do they want to inspect their own home and know about potential issues that they would be required to disclose, or do they just want to continue, the process of just securing an offer and then seeing what comes up at that time? But I agree with Darcy. Like a lot of the times when people want to do pre-inspections, that's your time. If you're the seller, that's your time to maximize your amount of people doing showings of the property, and to carve out 1 or 2 hours specifically for somebody to do a pre-inspection that may not be the winning bid is not always the best strategy.
Aaron, you just said something, you alluded to it. So most people, when they think about inspections, they don't think about pass-fail. Could you dive just a little deeper into a pass-fail inspection?
Well, the biggest worry for a seller is that they're going to see somebody give them a laundry list of small things to repair. And that does happen. That did happen more so in the past. And so you're talking about things that could be handyman related, licensed contractor related, that can add up really quickly to a lot of additional money. And so, that's the decision is, do we want to know about all those things? And also the age of the home too. If you think about the age of the house has a lot to do with it. So new house, you're not seeing typically as many things. Older house, you could see more structural. You can see just a lot of things that can really cause somebody to back out. Whereas on a new house, usually you're not finding things that would, frighten you to back out. You're finding more cosmetic things.
Gotcha. That makes total sense.
And it's scary right now because we're seeing anywhere from 6 to, I heard 72 offers on a house the other day. That's a lot of offers. Now, if you take that into consideration, that means a lot of people are waiving their inspection. I can tell you right now, I put an offer in on a house last week and one this week, and there was 6 offers on one, 19 on the other. We significantly adjusted how high we were willing to go once we saw what came up in the inspection. Significantly adjusted. The people that won waived their inspections and they're paying tons of money for it. And they're going to be in a world of hurt. And I'm starting to see a lot of lawsuits come up because of that.
And I will say this too. So last night, our clients, buyers helped. We did a pre-inspection. We were the only ones that did a pre-inspection. There were 2 other offers. They waived their inspection. They ended up going with us just because we had different terms. And, I thought of that. This house, thankfully, was over 100 years old. It turned out great in the inspection, but that was exactly it. It was first-time home buyers, and I would never advise them to not inspect the home before buying it, because you never know what's underneath the walls and all of that, and just making sure. But again, we very well could have lost out to somebody who waived that inspection versus pre-inspect.
And then Darcy, you had said a house had 72 offers. I think that is just a letdown from the listing broker, because it's just, you always come down to the top 3 or 4 offers or 2 or 3 offers. And to have 72 to me just means that the listing broker did not do a good job of pricing that house out for that property.
You made a really good point, or not even price it out, but just managing it maybe. I mean, that's a lot of work on a lot of people that didn't need to happen.
Exactly, right.
I agree, yet, I mean, I lost out last week on an offer that we wrote our offer for up to $250,000 above asking, and we still lost.
What was the price of the house?
The house was priced at $850,000, and if
So
you
over
looked at all
20%.
the comps, if you looked at the comparable properties, that was a reasonable price.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy right now. I was joking around with one of my agent friends saying, I'm going to put in the remarks, we will only not stick to the review date if you offer us double. And the funny thing is, right now, I could see that happening. I mean, I
was going to say, you bring up another good point to start talking about what is going on with review dates Friday, and then the home goes off market the next day. So we're not doing an actual review date, right? So what is actually happening out there?
That happens a lot, actually. That happens a lot. So you've got people, we call them bully offers. So you're going to bully the person a little bit. So you're going to come in and you're going to say this offer is going to expire before your review date, and we'll basically take it or leave it under these terms. And usually the terms are pretty aggressive. I'm here to tell you, normally in our market, that person's still around on Monday with the same terms.
With a better offer, typically.
Yeah, with a higher price.
Yeah. And also we're seeing a lot of people sell unlisted. And unless you are going to sell to somebody that you want to do a favor for, I wouldn't recommend doing unlisted sales. They typically sell for less money. You're not opening it up to the marketplace. We saw quite a bit of that last year, and I think people are starting to get an idea. If you're the seller, that's not a great idea in most cases.
That's interesting. Another topic you bring up. I mean, I feel like we should be out in Clubhouse right now because there should be so many people on this conversation, and that's the perfect platform for this. But people off market. So I'm up in the King County market. I would say, and I'm looking for a house, half the homes I look at are off market. It's like a whole underground system. Is that just certain markets, or is that everywhere? And they all know each other, right? Like you look at one and they're like, oh, call my buddy, call this person. And it's really, I've never seen it. It's really odd.
I see that in commercial, but not necessarily residential.
I think there are pockets, yeah.
The issue with residential is realtors are not supposed to be doing that.
It's called a pocket listing.
It's called a pocket listing, and it's against our rules.
it's not even agents. I don't feel like it's like you find one person and then they're like, call my friend, and there's no agents involved. They're just doing it. I don't know.
That's
I just
happening
bumped into it.
a lot. And
That's supply and demand right there.
yeah. And people think like, oh, it'll be easier if I just sell it myself. It'll be less expensive. But lawsuits are popping up left and right. Really, you're going to get more money if you list it with an agent, even though you have to pay the agent fees. You're going to get more money. I can guarantee that. And on top of that, you have less liability as a seller. I mean, I just had a friend who wanted to sell hers off market. She had an offer for 1.2. It fell through. She listed it with another friend, and they sold it for 1.37.
Wow.
Well,
So Darcy,
Stacey,
you brought up. Oh, go ahead, Ross.
Stacey, Keith, how many low appraisals have you seen? Are those creeping up?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
from my
are.
perspective, they are. What do you say, Keith?
Yeah. So low appraisals. I mean, it's coming down to the fundamental that appraisers need historical data to support the contract price, right? So if you go into a neighborhood where the most recent house sold for, let's say, $800,000, and now the new one that's under contract is at $1 million because somebody piled $200,000 on the listing price, right? Now we've got almost a 20% deviation there, right? And we're asking the appraiser who needs empirical historical data to take that last $800,000 comp and call it $1 million. It's not happening because of the escalation and the deviation between list price and what the escalation is going up to. So to Darcy's point, we've seen lots of stuff. Stacy and I, through our management of the team here throughout the Pacific Northwest. I want to be really clear, guys. This isn't like a Seattle problem. This is a problem everywhere. That escalation
everywhere. Yeah. Doesn't Idaho, whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm licensed in Washington, Idaho, Montana, California, and Oregon. And I have had a low appraisal in every state except California right now. California is not escalating to the extent that the other 4 states are. It's that crazy right now across the board. So it's
from
not
what we
just
can tell, the Puget Sound market is the hottest market on the West Coast. We're like in the eye of the storm here with what's going on. But I would say too, for appraisals, our whole team is scripted onto what to say to a client when they say, should I waive? What should I waive? Should I waive my financing? You know, we specifically ask, like, are there any homes within this mileage that have sold, right? Like, if not, be prepared with extra cash or whatever that conversation is. But we're having those conversations.
And to that point, it's really nice that the MLS just redid some of their forms because it makes more sense in using some of the forms now to waive your financing, but still have the ability to go back and renegotiate if it's a low appraisal, and still be able to guarantee the appraisal amount to a certain extent.
How many of you guys in your last offer for a buyer used the AD form, the 22 AD that you're talking about, Darcy?
Every single offer.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, would you mind explaining what that allows our buyers to, I guess, limit their liability, so to speak?
I mean, I think if you just start from the top on what that is, AD stands for basically additional down. So the seller's always going to be worried in this market that, again, because the prices are escalating so high, let's say it's a $900,000 property that sells for $1 million. And to your point, Keith, they've got to find comparable properties in that area to justify that on paper. And so a lot of the times that's not occurring. The appraisal comes back and it's, say, $950,000. It's $50,000 short. So what an AD addendum allows for is for the buyer initially in their terms to disclose that should this happen, I'm willing to put X number of dollars into the pot. And so in this scenario, if that person wrote a $50,000 AD, that just means that it appraised 50,000 short. They did a $50,000 AD. Those numbers match up. Now the seller still gets that money. That is the purchase price. So we're seeing that on almost every offer right now. Even if it's just a little small, like down in Thurston County, we still sell houses in the 3s and 4s. And sometimes that additional $5,000 to $10,000 that they have in savings cannot make the difference between them getting the house and winning the negotiation or not.
Yep.
So,
And we've been getting a little even leaner in terms of doing a 90H, which just, it's a financing and debt waive. So this basically the seller knows that the buyer realizes that they're waiving their financing. And if you don't have a financing addendum in, you either lose your earnest money or you walk away. There's no negotiating for a low appraisal. And that's the conversation that we have to have with our buyers. So I think that it's even, it's a little more, it's riskier though for the buyer. And I would accept I would accept an offer without a financing more so than I would with an AD. And our earnest monies are $150,000. I'm saying if give us what's your down payment, we're going to go 80% of that. And I know that the MLS says, it's not actually, it's an RCW that the earnest money can only be 5% of the purchase price, but without the financing addendum, that's sometimes the way that we get around that.
Interesting.
And even though we're advised not to have our clients release earnest money as a deposit before closing, it's happening left and right.
We do it on every offer.
Pretty much every offer. I mean, we always have to disclose, like, hey, client, this is what's happening and this might help you get it offered. It doesn't mean that we necessarily recommend it from a preserving your rights standpoint. But if you want to compete, that's kind of what it looks like.
And I think it's good. I mean, it's giving your clients the options. Let's look at all the options on the table and here are the risks to them, and then picking them apart and saying, what are you comfortable with? And if I were a buyer and I knew that there was something, a one-up I could do, but I wasn't told that, even if it was riskier, I would want to know that. So that's a great point, and just making all those options known.
Yeah. Going back to the appraisal, I'm finding something I've never had before is appraisers calling us on pending listings and asking, what's this going to close for? And that's, I guess maybe banks are allowing that more because it used to have to be a closed sale.
That's fascinating. Well, they're probably, maybe they know it's going to close before theirs, right? And then they could use it.
And then they can use it. Yeah.
Yeah, Keith, what are you saying from an originator?
Yeah, so Ross, here's where that lies. So the appraiser is out on a limb, right? They're trying to support the value the best of their ability. So if they're going to give higher value than maybe the black and white numbers crunch out to be, they can go and ask for pending listings and say, hey, look, we've got all these that have closed and this one's about to close. So they feel comfortable in their opinion of value to push that value just a little bit higher, knowing where the market trend is going and that there's pending listings that are escalating just like theirs is. So it allows them to kind of open the box a little bit with some data.
And in some cases, we're choosing close dates because we know pendings are going to close, right? So we're hoping those get rolled into the appraisal. Yeah.
I had a recent case. This was a first for me that we had an appraisal that was low. I want to say it was like 35,000 low. And the appraiser called me and I said, I think what you're missing is this house that closed that low. It was done off market. This house had water damage that you can't see from the pictures. And I gave a description of why those houses closed so low. And he kind of brushed me off. And then he called a few days later and he said, I talked to all those listing agents and you're absolutely right. I apologize. I'm adjusting my number. You're getting your number.
Awesome.
Nice job.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's my first time.
That's a lot of work. I think people don't realize, like, as a lender, we can't call. We have a team that can, but that's great that you were able to be that advocate for your client because it's such a protected person, but you're allowed to talk to them. So that's great.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And I think as listing brokers too, that's our job to make sure that as much as we can, information of giving that appraiser to make sure that the price that came is going to be supported and justified.
Yeah, it's quite frankly, I don't know what your guys' business practice is, but it kind of kills me sometimes when I send order the appraisal and then all of a sudden we're 10-15% over ask and the listing agent doesn't show up to the appraisal and talk to the appraiser about how they came up with their value, how many offers they had. What's your guys' practice in that respect?
We always try to show up if we're either a listing broker or a buyer's broker, to meet the appraiser, to let them know that we had X number of offers. I'll even carry the escalation or the competing offer with us if the appraiser doesn't have it, just to try to support that price. The only time we've had a low appraisal, cross our fingers, is when we got an offer submitted early and the buyer accepted it. It was because it was owner occupied, and the appraiser said, well, I don't really have supporting documentation saying that, and at that point it was only 10% over list price, that showed that anybody else was willing to pay that much. So I don't have a competing offer, so I can't appraise it at that. And we do something that's way out there. We tell our clients, this is what a home will appraise for in our opinion. If you want to pay over and above that, you're paying next year's appreciation. Some people are paying 3-4 years appreciation in order to get the house today. We also say, we guarantee your earnest money with our own money. If given that the home will appraise for what we say it will. And we're conservative on that. But if they want to pay over and above what our perceived appraised value is, then it's on them to make up the low appraisal. If we get a low appraisal and they want to walk away, we come up with that earnest money. And we look at it as just a cost of doing business.
We've never had to do it before. But it puts
knock on wood. Yeah.
And when we do those $100,000 earnest monies, there's a little sweat until that.
Now you know how the clients feel, right? You're just right with you.
A little bit of confidence there on their end then.
But we tell them we would rather lose our money based on our advice to you versus you losing your money based on our advice. And then we find that gives them the confidence to get aggressive right away.
Yeah.
So.
But you put your money where your mouth is in that case, so that's awesome.
Very good. So yeah.
So we're past our 30 minutes. So let me ask this closing question. We've talked about where we've gone through the craziness of Q1. It's just hot out there. Craziness is happening. We're getting into the quote selling season now in April and May and June. What's our forecast, Aaron? Why don't you start us off? What are you looking for down in Thurston? What's happening?
I mean, we'll see more of the same. You guys, the inventory is just so low that it's not going to change overnight. And so we're going to be dealing with these same circumstances for a while. I feel like you got a unaddressed question in the chat too about from Jamie Moss.
Oh, yeah.
How are you as agents advising borrowers on the market's current escalation of properties? I think what she is asking is how do we make sure we're setting clear expectations with where the market's going and that it is going higher. And what I can speak to personally is just that every single house that we go out and look at, we got to start with what's the current value. Too many people lose sight of that. So a house can be listed for whatever the seller agrees to and the agent agrees to list on their behalf. And so Darcy made this point earlier with her client that they went pretty high on a bid, and it sounded like this was the scenario, but it sounded like the value was clearly there and that the house may have been underlisted. And so it's just to take each house case by case, but to address it up front is to get really clear about the areas they're shopping and what is currently happening, not 6 months ago, not 3 months ago, what's happening in the last, 30 days to be able to win a house in that market. And then just doing the due diligence on the pricing, and then also just, seeing what their options in their situation is, because some people can go all in and they have the cash. They're coming from California. They're going to put half of the money down. They don't really care. And a lot of the times these are the winners. And you can't always compete with that if you are the person who cannot do those things. And so it's just being really clear, upfront, and honest about those things. But yeah, my personal opinion, the market will continue to appreciate. Is it sustainable forever? Absolutely not. Inflation is there. It's happening now. And so what we should see though, and this is my personal opinion based off of, I look at a lot of analytics, and we'll see, and I think you guys probably agree with me, that values continue to increase for a period of time of say 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Ross, Rachel, what's happening in Seattle in the next
We're
quarter?
hoping everybody just finds the sunshine and wants to take a break from looking for
Except for our clients, yeah.
and that the competition will be less. But we agree with Aaron in that. I don't know about 2 years from now, but we agree that it is unsustainable. I just hope that with the COVID, and from what we've listened to other brokers and our managing broker talk about, is with COVID and more people getting vaccines, hopefully more people feel comfortable listing their homes or just getting more inventory on the market. But again, that's just a hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, more inventory on the market would be great for everybody. Darcy, what's happening up north? Q2?
Yeah, so more of the same. More of the same. More people are getting into the market. We will see more listings, but it's not going to be enough to calm down the market. I think maybe in the fall it'll start to calm down some. I'm seeing a lot of frustrated buyers that are saying, forget it, I'll just rent for another year, which means we're going to be in the exact same place next year.
Fair enough. That's a really good point.
It is what it is. I think a lot of educating of buyers and sellers before and helping the sellers not get greedy, because we're starting to see some greedy places go on the market and they do sit. People forget that not everything sells. I mean, we commonly say anything you put on the market, it's going to sell right away. It's not true. If you overprice something and there's a fine line, it will sit, and then you will get way less than what you would have if you priced it lower. I'm not saying underprice things, but it's a fine line.
We just got a text from a future listing in a month or so where the seller, we gave her our price opinion is to, if you do all the work that we recommend that you do, 1.5. We'll list it for 1.5. Maybe we'll get 1.6. And she's like, well, if we could just get 1.9, then we could buy without having a mortgage. And it's just like, well, that would be great if you could just get 3 million too, but it doesn't always work that way.
And our response is we will do the best we can, and we will fight for our clients, and that is our intention.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But setting sellers' expectations, that's tough right now.
Yeah,
because they do have a perception that it's just going to sell for way, way more money and everybody's going to be so happy. But when they're the buyers, they're like, well, you're going to find me a deal, right?
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. I also tell my buyers regularly, don't get into this competitive mode. Look at your numbers. You cannot compete with crazy. And some people are being crazy.
Yeah. You don't want to win at all costs.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you all for joining us. Look forward to debriefing on Q2 in what would that be, July? So definitely thank you for your knowledge, your local knowledge, and we'll catch you guys next go round.
Thank you.
This is a lot of fun.
Thank you guys for your time. So appreciate
Enjoy the sun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, there you have it, Stacy. It's
so
crazy out there. So
it's crazy.
Right on. Well, thanks.
So we'll be sure to put their information in your chat. They all, as you can tell, I hope you can tell that they are just professionals in this industry and can help navigate in this unprecedented time. So we'll give you all their information. They cover all the counties, so you'll be hooked up.
Absolutely. Well, we'll catch you guys next Thursday at 10 a.m. for Real Estate Now. Take care.